Record.
Thank you. And so the jokes you may have heard before, but I have them all lined up here. So I want to. Two Irishmen walk into a pet shop. Right away, they go over to the bird section. Jerry says to Patty, "That's them." The clerk comes over and asks if they can be helped. "Yeah, we want to take 4 of them there birds in the cage up there," says Gary. Put them in the cages, 2 different cages, right? The clerk does this. The 2 men pay for the birds and they leave the shop. They go into Jerry's van and they drive for about 10 miles to the cliffs of Ireland, where there's a 100-foot drop. It was a grand place for a view, says Jerry. "Oh yeah, this looks good," replies Patty. And then they flip a coin and Jerry wins the toss. "I guess I get to go first," Jerry says. Then he takes 2 birds out of the cage, places them on his shoulders, 1 on each shoulder, and he jumps off the cliff. Patty watches as his mate drops off the edge and goes straight down for a few seconds and then splat onto the rocks. By the way, these were budgie birds. Anybody ever hear of budgie birds? Right.
Of course.
As Patty looks over the edge of the cliff, he shakes his head and says, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do budgie jumping. It's too dangerous for me." All right.
That is not one of the better ones you ever had.
Oh, it gets better though. I'll embellish it. I'm going to if you everybody pick up their iPhone or iPad or something like that, just pick it up. Right? In your hands, you have more computer power than it took to launch our astronauts to the moon. Let me say that again. There's more compute power in that device. It can do over 2 billion additions a second.
Maybe that's why we have so much trouble with
Okay. And that sounds like a lot until you look at the screen and you say, the screen looks very beautiful, right? It's made up of little dots. They're called pixels. And each pixel can be a different color. So the computer has to figure out what color each pixel is. So if you're looking at a video and it's computing what color each pixel is, now you can't see the pixels because they're so small. There are millions of them, right? If you figure out that if you're seeing a video, you're going to say, wow, and it's computing all the different colors as the video is playing, then you understand why 2 billion additions a second isn't a whole lot. That makes sense? Remember the first computers, they had the green screen and the little dots on the screen? Those were the pixels, right? And we've improved from that considerably. I think that's somebody who wants into the meeting. Hold on, please. Bill, you're muted. Just do yours.
Hi, Bill.
Don't hear you, Bill.
You can hear me now, right?
Hear you now, yes.
Now I can hear you. No, I had admitted some people. So welcome everybody who just joined us.
Over here.
So now we have these pixels, right? Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. If you pick up your device as you're holding it, the glass is bulletproof glass. The chassis it's either stainless or some of them are plastic now, depending on them. And it has some buttons on it. Okay, there's one of them is called the power button. And I'm going to switch screens so that you're looking at my other display. Okay, can you see the other screen now, everyone? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Most of the devices have a button over here where I'm pointing the arrow on the iPhone. That's called the power button. You press it once, goes to sleep, you press it again and it wakes up. On the other side, now some of the iPads have it at the top. Well, it's on the right as well. My iPad's in the vertical position or horizontal position right now, and the button is right here. Okay. I'm sorry. On my iPad, it's at the top. So it would be right here on this iPad. Over here on the iPad are two other buttons. One is the volume up and one is the volume down. On the iPhone, those two buttons are over here. Now my iPhone is oriented so that the camera is at the behind where I'm circling my mouse. You have 1, 2, 3. I don't know if they've got to 4 yet. Okay, there's 3 or 4, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 cameras in the back, and there's one in this area at the top of your Apple phone. On the iPad, there's a camera right here. And there's one on the back up here. So there are multiple cameras on both devices. My iPhone, for example, has 3 cameras in the back and 1 on the front. The 3 cameras are wide angle, close up, and normal.
Question.
Go ahead.
Is the one on the front something that you can't see as a camera?
On which, your iPhone or iPad?
Both?
On the iPhone, it's up here. And if you turn on that camera, and I'm going to do that, I'll bring up my camera. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, you're actually talking about the icon that looks like in the camera.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just turning on the camera. That's the rear view, and I'm going to switch to the front view. Okay. And if you put your finger up there, you can see that you're covering the camera. Okay, so I turned on the camera, and there's some of the cameras you can't see because it's in that special space there at the top. But if you put your finger over it, you can tell you're doing that. Okay, on the iPad, if I find and turn on the camera, and do the same thing. There's the rear view. I'm going to swap it. There's the front view. And if I put my finger right here, right there, you're covering up the camera. Okay? So that gives you an idea of where the cameras are. Some of us have a button at the, well, let's see, over here on the right on the iPad. And, you know, if I turn the iPad this way, then it's at the bottom, right? And on the iPhone, it would be at the bottom of the screen you're looking at, if you have that button. On the later versions of the iPad, they eliminated that button. And on your iPhones, if you pick them up and you look at the edge of the iPhone on the left here, you look at the edge, there's a little switch in there. The switch actually can be switched down toward the back of the device and up. Now, it takes your fingernail to do it. Okay, it's called the the theater or church button, and it mutes your device. Okay, I have often turned it on mute and forgot to turn it off, and I wasn't getting phone calls. That's because it's mute. I wasn't answering phone calls. The phone calls were still coming in, but I wasn't able to hear them, so I could answer them. Now, if you have that button on, it can vibrate. You can feel it going off, but it's not making any noise. Okay? I want to make sure that those 3 messages there on my phone are not somebody trying to get into the meeting. It is. And there's Inga. I bet that's Inga. Okay. So far, so good, everybody? Any questions on that? Inside your devices, inside the iPhone, for example, there's like 4 different antennas for communication outside your device. Those communications have the following names. One is called cellular. And that, if you're in an area where the cell phone towers are, you're able to connect to your internet and receive phone calls because of that cellular antenna that's in your phone. Some iPads also have that, not all of them. The other thing, the next antenna that's in there is called Wi-Fi. And it's a wireless communications. And it communicates to those boxes you have from Comcast, Xfinity, or whoever your wireless provider is in your location. The receiver for that, your box you get from Comcast or Verizon or Frontier, has to be within about 100 feet of you in order to receive the signal. Whereas the cellular towers are within miles of you. There are two more antennas in there. One is called Bluetooth. And somebody asked me one time, what's Bluetooth? To tell you the truth, I don't know where the name came from, but that allows you to talk within 10 feet, not 100 feet, but 10 feet. These are all different radio waves. So the Bluetooth, for example, would allow you to hook to your Wi-Fi system in your car, hearing aids, an external speaker, and there's a bunch of other things you could communicate with, or your phone could communicate with, other than those.
Bill, could you talk about the cellular data options on calling on other devices and all that stuff, please?
Yes. When you get your phone and you're using it, you're able to make a phone call through the cell phone towers. You can also get on the internet, and that's using data mode, basically. So it's a little different communication technique, but it's transmitting data versus voice. And you pay for, with the cellular company, you pay for the amount of data you want to be able to transfer on a monthly basis. And they measure it in terms of gigabytes. That's billions of bytes. And if you get a 5 gigabyte plan, you can transfer 5 gigabytes of information back and forth in any given month. That sounds like a lot, but if you download a couple of full-length movies, you've used it up.
Bill?
Let me I have to answer the question first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay? That's all right. So you can say, hey, I don't want to use any of my data plan. And there's a settings in your phone that says, I don't want to communicate using the data portion of my device because I've already used up my plan or whatever. Does that answer your question about data on and off?
I think so. Do you suggest that we not, so when it says all these other things like current roaming, is that different than the roaming and all that stuff?
Okay, roaming is you're able to use other than your provider's cell phone towers.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you're not getting good reception, you can switch that roaming on, and sometimes there's an additional charge for that as well.
Thank
Now,
you.
what was the other question we had?
Yes, someone mentioned that you can use your watch to take a picture from your phone. How does that work? And what is that?
Okay. I'm not going to, that's way advanced, and I'm not going to get into that right now. Okay.
Okay, what do they use? Do they use Bluetooth or whatever?
Yeah,
You're
it's
talking about?
Bluetooth.
Okay, thank you.
Is that what you want to know? There's one more set of antennas there, right? And it's called near field communications. And many of you may have used it, and many of you may not have used it. It's the ability to pay for your purchase with your iPhone or your watch, okay? And that's like Bluetooth is 10 feet. The near field communications is like 1 foot. So some people you may see at Publix or Starbucks, anyone who has Apple Pay, that's the term they use for the ability to do this. by just dragging your phone over the card reader in the particular store you're in. And it's called near field communications. So those are four different, that's going to be in the final, by the way. Name three of the four kinds of communications.
And then say them all again real quick.
Cellular, wireless, Bluetooth, and NFC or near field communications. All
What
right.
is NFC again?
Yep. Near field communications. NFC.
What does that mean? I mean, what is that?
That's the one that allows you to pay for your purchase with your
Ah.
phone without getting out your credit card. You just flash your phone over the card reader.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
For trivia, Bluetooth is the name of a king that united Denmark and Norway. And he was known as Bluetooth because he had a Bluetooth. And so this is communications uniting a lot of different things.
But why? Is it because it connects two things like Norway and whatever?
Yeah, he united the Scandinavian countries back in 958 or something. And so when they named this particular communication, they named it after him because they're doing communications like he did countries.
Okay. That's going to be in the finals, by the way.
Talk about
What
trivia.
king? No. Okay. So there's another feature on your iPad and iPhone. It's called memory. You have so much memory in your device, and that's the space where you save all your applications and the operating system. By the way, the operating system is like the conductor for your iPhone or iPad. It coordinates all the activity going on in your device. If you will, it's a super application that controls all the other applications. The memory in there, when you first purchase your device, you have the capability to select how much you would like to have. And right now, I think it's 64 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes. I'm often asked the question, which one of those should I get? Most of them come with either 32 or 64. Today, I'm recommending that you get 128 gigabytes if you buy a new device. And then the first question there is, what's a gigabyte? It's rhetorical. A gigabyte, if you go 1,000, million, and then billion, it's a billion bytes. And so what is a byte? It's the capability, and the byte is what we refer to as the ability to store one character. So an A would take 1 byte of space on your device. A 1, if you put a 1 on your keyboard, it's occupying 1 byte on your device. So you have, on mine, I have 128 billion bytes. So to put that in perspective for you, if you're reading a book, how many characters are in the book? My objective here is to explain how much space that takes up if you save a book on your iPhone or iPad. Last night I sat down with my book and I counted the number of characters in a 300-page paperback. I didn't do that. I opened the book to the middle of the book. I counted the number of characters in one line. Those characters include the period, a space is a character, a number, a slash, question mark, all the letters, etc. And I counted the number of those in one line, counted the number of lines, multiplied the two together, and multiplied that by the number of pages. And of course, books are all different sizes, but we're in the range of 1 million characters in that book. That's 1 million bytes on your computer, on your iPad, on your iPhone. So 1 million bytes is one book. If you have a 32 gigabyte device, well, let's put it this way. 1 million characters, that would be, get this right. So you have 1 million characters in your book. How many can you put, how many millions in a billion? Anybody have that answer?
1,000.
Thank you. Correct. It's 1,000 books that you can put in 1 gigabyte. So if you have a 64 gigabyte machine, that's 64,000 books you can load onto your iPhone or your iPad if you put nothing else there. So that's a lot of space, isn't it? Now, if you put that many books on your iPhone, it's going to get very heavy and hard to carry. Now, that's not true either, but I just wanted to add a little levity. The problem is I can't see my audience, so I'm not sure. All right. So the key there is you can ask your grandchild, how much is a gigabyte? And they will say it's just lots and I need more. Now you have a little better understanding of what a gigabyte is. It's 1 billion bytes, and each byte is a character or a letter. All right. So we have ourselves an iPad and iPhone, and we turn them on. Everybody turn on your device. And which one do you have? So if I look up here at my device, and I go to, now if everybody, hopefully you can see this on the screen, and this little icon is called the settings icon, this one and this one. So go ahead and click on that one or tap on it. And when you're looking at the settings menu on my iPhone, it's this menu of items. The top of it has your name. On the iPad, it's the left-hand panel. So if we scroll down on both devices to where it says General, go ahead and tap General. And then tap where it says About. And it tells you something about your device. It tells you the name you've given it. Now, if it just says iPhone here, I'm sorry, iPhone here and iPad here, what I'd like to do is have you change that. And what I'm trying to do is get you used to just tapping at different places. Mine says Bill's iPad right here. If you tap that little arrow, the little arrow that's pointing to the right, some people call it a caret. Okay, if you tap that, it comes up with a screen, right? And the cursor is blinking. See the cursor blinking on both my devices? And if I tap where the cursor is blinking, a keyboard will show up. So that's major lesson number one. If you tap somewhere that's a box where you can put text in it, and you tap on it, a keyboard would show up. Now, this is not the case if you have an external keyboard, but a keyboard will show up on your screen. Like
Bill?
so.
I did not
Uh-huh.
have to tap them.
That's okay. It may come up automatically. Okay.
Right.
The second lesson for the day would be that little X. See the little round X there on both of them? If you tap the X, it will make the entire text that's in that line disappear. If you just want to get rid of a character or two, you hit the back arrow down here. And it gets rid. So if I want to get rid of the 2 up there on the screen, I hit the back arrow there at the bottom, right here, and the 2 disappears. Repetitively hitting it will get rid of additional characters. Okay. So what I'd like you all to do is type in your name and then iPhone or iPad after it, similar to what I have up there.
It's
Bill,
already on there.
Good, you've done this before. You can do it again if you want by just hitting the X.
That's a,
Right?
it
If I
says-
hit the X here, and then I'm going to type in BILL apostrophe S I. And we're going to talk about the keyboard usage next time, but right now we just want to fumble around with it and get something up there other than iPad.
now it says model name and on the third line down on that page. So why do you need it twice?
I'm not sure what you're saying, dear. Have you
Oh.
gone to this screen?
Yes, and it says, wait a minute, about, okay. I have general about, and then it says name, iOS version, name.
No. You're tapped about, and then the name at the first line, and then you type in that name, the name you want to use.
Okay,
And I have name at the top of the screen. And if I want to go back to about, I would click right here. That makes sense? So this is a little about navigation as well. Was everybody able to put that in?
Yes.
One of us. Okay. And then I'm going to navigate out of settings and just tap about and go backwards. Okay. And we'll find out why I had you do that in a later class. But this identifies your device so that your name appears here where it says name.
this is the page I was talking about. It has the model name down there. So why do you need to put it twice?
You're not putting it twice, you're changing it if it wasn't right. You changed it sometime in the past. Okay, if your name is there, you didn't have to do this other than just practice.
Okay,
Okay. The next item down in that, now everybody's going to has where it says about. So we went to settings, general, and about. And the information it has for me there is, for example, on the iPhone, it says the iOS version is 16.5 here, and the iOS version over here on the iPad is for 16.4.1. And that needs to be updated. So if your device is a relatively new device and I'll have to reword that. In some cases, you're not able to get 16.5 because you have an older device and there's a certain point where it says the older device cannot operate the newest operating system. So it might say something like 12.2 here, and you're not able to do what I'm going to show you next. Okay? My iPad, on the other hand, is not up to date. It says 16.4.1. Now, please don't do this at home right now, else you'll lose the capability of going around and trying the things I'm going to show you.
Should they both read the same, the iPad and the iPhone at 16.5
If they say 16.5, you're up to date.
on both of
If
them?
it doesn't, and later on today, you want to get your operating system up to date. It is best to get updates as soon as you can, because many of them contain security enhancements to keep your device from being corrupted. So what I'm going to do on my iPad is I'm going to tap the little arrow. And it says this particular one is available. This update provides important, etc. Now I'm not going to update it now. Okay.
Bill,
All right.
how long would the update from 16.4 to 16.5 on the phone take?
And it's not predictable. So
So,
if you're going to do it yourself, my particular device is set up to do it overnight if the device is plugged in.
okay,
So the things you want to do if you're going to do an update manually is you want to plug it in and be prepared to not be able to use your device for a few hours.
all right.
Now, it may only take 10 minutes to do, and it's a small update. It may take much longer as well.
Okay, thanks.
I think mine tells me to wait until night.
That's okay. Okay. So tonight, plug it in, don't turn it off. You can put it to sleep, but don't turn it off. Now, I just did something that I need to inform you of. I used the word put it to sleep. Okay. I'm going back to my home screen on both devices. There's a button called the power button. Remember, we mentioned that one to start with. It's the one that's up here on my iPad. Well, I'm sorry, up here on the top on my iPad, could be on the side. And it's on this side of my iPhone. Okay. And it's called the power button. If I tap it once and then tap it again, my device goes to sleep and wakes up. Let me do it again. All right. probably once every week to once every couple of weeks, you should do some additional work using that button. If you press and hold that button, and what I'm going to do is turn on my camera on my iPhone. So I'm going to press and hold this button up here. I'm pressing and holding it. And I hold it and hold it and hold it, and this screen comes up. And you slide to power off. Okay, so now I've turned off my device. I wait a few minutes, say a minute or so. And then again, I push that button and I hold it until the apple appears on the screen. How many of you have a junk drawer at home? Nobody? Oh, come on. Most of us have a junk drawer at home. And it gets kind of disheveled, if you will. And if you take the time to straighten it out, it's much easier to use your drawer and get the things you're after. By turning off your iPad or iPhone, what you're doing is straightening out the junk drawer. So now I'm going to press and hold that button. And I'm holding it, and I got to hold it until the apple appears on the screen like so. Okay? And that apple will be on the screen for quite a while, because it's reloading and finishing straightening out the junk drawer. And it's still on there.
Question, Bill?
There we go. And now I put in the code. Pardon me?
I just have a question when you get to a break.
Okay. Let me
The,
bring up my iPad on the screen. Uh-oh.
You suggest that we do that periodically with our iPhone and our iPad?
Exactly. Once every 1 to 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right. So now I'm going back to my settings and general and about. And if I scroll down a bit, I see how much information I have on my iPhone and the iPad. My iPad, I have 1 song, 80 videos, 3,300 plus photos, 336 applications. The key thing you're interested in there is the 64 gigabytes. That's the amount of memory I have on my device. And I have 25 gigabytes available to me. In other words, I haven't used that yet. On my iPhone, on the other hand, 1,600 songs, 79 videos, the same number of photos, applications 320, but my capacity there is 128 gigabytes.
Question, Bill, if you do not have 128 gigabytes and you want that, can you do it without getting a new phone?
No. Simple
Thank you.
answer. What you get when you purchased it is what you've gotten. Now, you don't need to worry about it depending on how much you have available. So if you have 10 or more gigabytes available, you're fine.
Hey,
If you're
Bill,
down to the, yes, go ahead.
okay, you've got 128 gigabytes capacity, but I've got 1.02 terabytes. That's a lot. I mean, that doesn't seem quite right. does
Under
it?
capacity,
Under capacity.
I didn't know you could get a terabyte.
Mine says
1,000.
mine says
Wow,
1.02. So is capacity and memory the same thing?
yes. I didn't know you could get it. Is that a relatively new one?
Yes, it's new. It's I-14 Pro Max. But
And you chose to get 1 terabyte. Yeah. I didn't know you could get that many, Jim.
well, that's what it says on mine anyway.
Good
But
for you.
Well, Bill, I have a question. For us normal users of our iPhones and iPads, do we really need 128 gigabytes? I know you teach classes, so it's a little different.
No, it's based on pictures and songs primarily. If you take a lot of photos, you want to get the capacity. If you have a lot of music on there, you want to have the capacity. If not, you can go to 64. Okay, would be plenty. But if I had 64, on my iPhone, if I had 64, I'd be out of luck.
And you would have to buy,
Well-
and you would have to buy a new phone.
I would have to get a new phone, in this case, or an iPad. You notice
You
I
know-
have one song here and 1600 here. The reason I had to get rid of all the songs is I had exceeded the 64 gig capacity. Or not exceeded it, I was getting close to full tank. And so I had to delete a bunch of songs so I had space.
And you're saying if you only have 10 gigabytes available, you need to get rid
You're
of
good.
things?
You can delete some things depending on what you're looking at.
Bill,
Yes,
I'm confused about something. To me, I thought memory meant the amount of working space that you could have working on something. Capacity, I thought, was like the storage on your machine. Am I wrong?
you're right for computers.
I'm right for computers. What does that mean?
There's no Jim, I know exactly where you are. I'm just trying to clarify it. When Apple uses the word memory, they're talking about storage.
Okay, that makes sense then. Okay, that makes
Okay.
sense. Yes,
And
that
there
makes
is no quote computer kind of memory thing you can do.
Oh,
And I'm
okay.
not sure how they handle that. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. That makes some sense now. Yes.
I had to buy more storage because I had too many photos.
No, for your phone,
Yeah, for iCloud storage.
iCloud storage is different. We haven't gotten to there yet. Okay,
So can I
I-
leave, can I have all those photos without iCloud storage?
if you didn't save the photos in the iCloud, yeah, but you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And when
Okay.
we get to iCloud, we'll talk about it.
Okay,
For those of you who are new, there's a capability to save the information that's on your device, iPhone or iPad, somewhere outside of your device automatically, and it's called the iCloud. So that if you lose your device or for some reason run out, something's happening to your device, your information is safe in the iCloud. and I'll remind you of this many times, you cannot delete a photo from your device and hope it's in the iCloud. It will not be there. Your iCloud
You
is,
anymore. Is that the same for everybody or just me?
that's everybody. Okay,
So Bill, if I had a different capacities on my phone and my iPad, and I'm getting to the point where I'm full on my iPad, how do I get rid of some photos without getting rid of them on my phone as well?
you don't.
I need to put everything into the iCloud. Correct?
All three of those things you mentioned have the exact same number of photos or close to it.
Or close?
So if you delete a photo from your phone, it's going to delete it from the cloud and your iPad.
Well, that's not a good idea then, is it? Because you don't want
Well,
it.
that's the way it works.
How do you keep it in the iCloud and get more capacity on your phone?
And delete it from your phone. You mean?
Yes. Yes.
That's a good subject for the photos class, basically. But what you do is you find a different way to save your photos other than the iCloud.
Oh,
That's a separate class.
that's okay. Thanks.
Bill,
Are you about out, Ann?
I have only
What's
10
your
left
bill?
on my iPad, and I have on my oh shoot, on my phone. Where'd it go? I'm not on my
Yeah.
phone, but I'm almost out of my iPad. I only have 10 left.
How much do you have on your phone available? And the same question about the iPad.
I know. And for,
In other words,
oh, here we go. I have capacity.
Not capacity, available.
Oh, available. I have 10 on my iPad and I have 28 on my iPhone.
So you still have plenty of space.
On both?
Yes. When you get below 5, then you have to start worrying.
Below 5. Okay.
I have an observation I'd like to ask you or ask you. The capacity number that you have on your iPad, 64 gigabytes, is what I show on my iPhone. And the
Correct.
capacity on the iPhone on the iPad is 128. And it's like they're reverse numbers.
Capacity is the total amount you can put in. That's to have a full bucket, I would have to use 128 gigabytes. The available is how much space is not filled in the bucket, so I can put more stuff in it.
Just so happens that
Now, let me
your
finish.
capacity on your iPad and my capacity on my iPhone are the same thing.
The capacity is how much you purchased when you got your device.
Got
The
it.
question-
I understand that.
Bill,
Okay,
But does
Yeah,
that
go
ever
ahead.
change? That doesn't change though, does it?
that never changes.
okay, Bill,
Yeah, go ahead.
Jim McIntyre. Let me tell you on mine, on my iPad, it says I've got capacity 1.02 terabytes, and the same thing on my iPhone. But the iPad was purchased like, say, 3 years ago. The iPhone's a few months ago. So how
Are
would
you
that?
sure are you on the same screen I'm on?
Yes, as far as I can, yeah.
Does it say
Yeah.
about at the top?
It says. Well,
In other words, up here it says about.
yes, it says about at the top of my iPad, and I click
Okay,
about.
that's the capacity you have on both of them, Jim.
What? When I bought the iPad, I don't think it had that much. So does that make any
I
sense?
can't- No. There's no way to change that number.
I say lucky you.
Well, but it's just, it doesn't seem right, but that's what it says.
Yep,
Bill, I got a question also.
go ahead.
When you were doing the hold the power off button on, I happen to be doing it on my iPad, it would
Yes.
not come up with the slide to power off, because when I touch the power off, it brings up Siri, and Siri was deciding to translate everything that anybody said in class, so it didn't give me the slide to power out at all, ever.
Okay, let me, thank you, Bill. All right, Bill brings up a good point. If you have no home button, that's the button at the bottom of the screen. And thank you, Bill, because the way in which you power down your device is you have to press the power button on this side and the
Yes.
volume down button on this side.
Oh, I miss.
And when you hold both those together concurrently, it comes up with, and you can't see the screen. It comes up with a screen that says slide to power off.
And medical ID and emergency.
Yes, but the key one here is,
But Bill, on mine, I can press either volume up or down along with the power button.
and that depends on the device, because sometimes if you push it, if I do it on mine, the volume up and the power button, I take a screenshot.
Oh,
But if I press and hold, no. And I take a screenshot when I do that on my iPhone, so that's a little different.
yes, it is. Is that a setting that you have done that?
It's somewhere in the settings, I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into that right now. Screenshot.
Okay.
So far, so good?
Yes,
All right, thank you, Bill. So if you don't have, you need to do a reset every once in a while, like every 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks. The other information that's on the about screen can be used. Apple may ask you for some of that information if you want help from them. We've covered the important ones. Just a minute. Settings, general, about. And you see where it says model name on the about menu?
Yeah.
That's which device you have. So on my iPad, I have the 3rd generation iPad Air. On my iPhone, I have the iPhone 12 Pro. So if you're ever asked what device you have, this gives you that information.
Gonna pay for the town hall, because I got an email from them saying, if I don't
Okay,
receive it by the 20th.
Bill, I'm sorry, how did you do the reset again?
So you don't sit and check.
Okay. On my iPhone, the power button on this side and the volume down on this side. You take your phone, cup it in your hand, and you can press one with your thumb and one with your middle finger. And you press and hold both of them concurrently. I'm going to do it in the phone. The ID will be gone on the screen. And when you press and hold that, those two, and everybody should do this, right? You should get a screen that comes up that says slide to power off. There may be other things on it, but the slide to power off is the important one.
If you don't want to do that, you can cancel it because it says cancel on the bottom.
Yep. Okay.
And you leave it off how long, or just you can turn it back on again? Or what?
Well, leave it off for a minute or so. And then press the power button and hold it. I'm
Okay.
going to do it. You can't
Thank you.
see it, but I'll do it. So you. Okay. I just powered off my iPhone. And you wait to about a minute. And what people usually say is, I can't get it to come back. When you press and hold the power button now, and I'm going to press and hold it, and I'm holding it right now, and it's still blank. It's still blank. And I said, oh, did it
Wait,
fail? And it's still
we
blank, but
lost,
then the apple appears.
we lost the picture of your iPhone.
I know you can't see it because of the phones, but that's what you do. And then the apple appears on the iPhone. And the apple will sit there for quite a while. And there it came. So it depends on your phone, what's going on, but don't give up on it.
When the apple appears, you keep pressing?
Nope, you can release when the apple appears. Good question. Good question.
If it disappears, what do you do? Oh, it didn't disappear this time. Okay, thank you.
Good. So what have we talked about so far? We talked about the external parts of your device, right? The power button, the volume up, the volume down, the home button if you have one, the memory in it, and how much there is. And then we went to settings and we looked at general and about. And we saw what kind of device you had, how much information you have on it, right? We talked about software update, and if you're not up to date, you should do that after class, which I will do on my device. Okay?
Bill? Hey,
Hello?
Bill? Question.
Yep,
How
go
come
ahead.
you can have a big difference in the amount of songs between your iPad and your iPhone? Why doesn't the cloud equalize that?
Songs is not one of the things that it synchronizes. So you can have a different set of songs on your devices. Photos, on the other hand, synchronizes.
So photos and
does-
videos synchronize.
Photos does synchronize. Applications, songs, and video, applications and songs do not.
Thank
Well,
you.
they must, Bill, they must synchronize because mine are the same and I don't put anything on. I don't put songs on. So for some reason I have 23 on the iPad and 25 on the iPhone and
Hold on.
videos.
Go ahead.
And videos are exactly the same, and so they must synchronize.
Now, videos do and photos do. Songs do not. Applications do not. Okay. You know, and it's interesting. Many of you may have this situation where I have, just a minute. I have one more video on one device than I have on the other, and I have no idea why they aren't 100% the same. It's the same with the photos, 3,387, 3,389. So I'm off a couple, and I don't know how that happens. They're supposed to be synchronized. And I don't know which pictures I have on my iPhone that I don't have on my iPad. So, okay. But the applications and the songs do not synchronize. Okay. All right. Let's go back to this screen that you see on mine right now. This screen is called the home screen.
Bill, can I ask you something? I have no more screens from you. I can only see you.
I'm sharing, and I think everybody else is seeing my share screen. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes,
What,
I don't,
what can I do?
pardon me?
What can I do to get the screens back on? I
Bearable,
only see your,
I know, did you have me before?
yes,
click on view.
Where is view?
It's part of the Zoom.
I know.
Upper right-hand corner.
under more,
Click on, I don't have a screen that I can help you with there. You're saying click on the upper right-hand corner, somebody?
Yes, view, and then why don't you do full screen and see what happens?
Barbell, we can see you, so we know you're there.
yeah. But I can only see Bill.
Did you click on full screen?
Yes, but
You
how do
see
I do
Bill
that?
alone? Do you see Bill alone, or do you see
Yes.
all of us?
Underneath, I see 4 people.
Something from them. I need the little book.
Okay, the book.
I see Zoom now. Let me go on Zoom.
You gotta call Erica.
Yeah.
It says Ost. Encryption participants and iPhone basic meeting ID.
Yeah, I don't have the right screen to be able to help you. Bearbell, if you want to log off and log back on, I'll let you in the meeting.
Okay.
All right. So I've opened up, and this screen is one of many screens you may have called home screen. Anybody know what these objects are called down here? Anybody?
Some funny name? Like,
Some funny name.
Apps or apps, aren't they your
Apps.
applications?
They're called applications.
Yeah.
Okay,
isn't there-
applications. So this is the application that would get me to the Wall Street Journal. This one would show me the clock app. Here's the one for Zoom. Down here, look at all these down here, both on my iPhone and my iPad. There's a special area down here. It has a name, and it's called the dock.
Yeah.
You can put a bunch of apps down here, and you can only put 4 over here. Move a little dot out of the way. Okay. All right. Now on my iPad, I happen to have these dots. See the dots down here at the bottom on my iPad? If I put my finger here and draw it that way, I'll get to the next home screen, and that dot will change location to be the middle dot. And if I go one more time, it's on the right-hand dot. And that's all the home screens that I have. They
Bill,
changed it a little, just a minute. They changed it a little bit on the iPhone where it says search here. If you put your finger on the screen and now left to right, oops. I go this way. See, it says search there at the bottom. I could click there and search for an app, but if I sweep from right to left, the dots then appear on this bottom again and shows you which one of the home screens you're on. Okay, what was the question?
complications was what I was trying to remember, and how are they different from apps?
Which one?
Oh, I mean, complications as the category of something that has to do with the iPhone.
No, complications are the iWatch.
Oh, okay, all right. I knew it was some odd name, but thank you.
Yeah.
Did you say again what the search does?
If you tap it. Okay. If you tap where it says search, and then you can type in the name of the app you're after. It also gives you a list of the applications you've used recently. Okay, so that's what search does. And the way in which you get out of the search is you put your finger here at the bottom and drag up. See where the bar is down here at the bottom of the screen? If I put my finger there and just sweep up, I'll get back to the home screen. Okay, I don't have that same search feature on my iPad. When you move your finger over the screen, it's called a gesture. So when I move from right to left, it does something. In this case, it goes to the various apps, right? Now, just a couple of things to be aware of. If you start, I'll go to my iPad right now, and I'll sweep from right to left, right to left. And that's the 3 screens I have for home screen. But if I do right to left one more time, I get something called the app library, which is a listing of all the apps I have on my device. Okay. So I don't want to spend any time there right now. I just want to concentrate on the gestures. I'm going right to left now. I mean, left to right now. And if you go one more screen beyond the dots you have at the bottom, comes up with something called Today View. Let's not get into those. I just want you to make aware, if you do that and you get this screen, you just put your finger right here and you go this way.
Just play around with it.
Get yourself all messed up here. If you put your finger on the top right of your screen and pull down, that's putting my finger up here and pulling down. Oops, that was the phone. The iPad,
You
you
mean
get
top
something called notification. Again, we'll talk about that at a later time, but I got it, right? And then I can sweep up to get rid of it. So let me show you how that works with an actual button on the screen. So I put my finger here and pull up, and I'm back to the home screen. The idea here is you're practicing gestures. Right? So I put my finger here in the top left of the screen and pull down. If I can get it to work, there it is. Okay. If I put my finger on the top right edge of the screen and pull down, I get something called the control center. You say, my goodness, this is all kinds of complications. No, it gets complicated. So we're not going to focus on this guy or this guy or this guy or 1, 2, 3, right? We're just going to concentrate on the one that is right here. Okay. And these little icons are called applications. So if I wanted to get to the Maps application, I would click on Maps. And on the iPad, I would hit the home button to get back to the home screen. If I hit the Maps application on the iPhone, to get back, I would put my finger on this little bar here at the bottom and pull up. Oops, come on. Like so. Make sense, everybody?
Yes.
All right. So and what I want to do is practice gestures a little bit more. We're going to go to the iPad. And I have all these apps all over the place, right? How many do I have there on the dock? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 total down there. Wow. Well, I don't want those. By the way, the purpose of them being down there is they're always there no matter what home screen I'm on. So if I look at for example, this particular app, that's the calendar app. If I sweep to the next screen, it's still down there. So it remains there. So you put applications down here, or there's icons for applications. You put them down there. If the ones that are frequently used. So how can you change? If I have an application down here called, let's say I wanted the calendar one not to be down here. How can I take it off there? You put your finger in a blank area of the screen and you hold it down, and all the apps stop shaking. That's what it looks like on my iPad. That's what it looks like on my iPhone. Okay, and if I move. This will be hard. If I put my finger on the calendar app down here and I drag it up, okay, and then I tap the screen and they stop shaking.
But mine's still there.
Still on here. You get them to shake by tapping the screen and they start shaking. And now I'm going to put the calendar app back on that bar. So I put my finger on the calendar app and I drag it down.
Mine is-
Crow. Hi, Bill Crow. Yes, I did. Okay. So they're shaking on the iPhone. Here they're shaking on the iPad. I'm going to put the one that looks like a watch there. I'm going to put my finger on it and drag it up. And I'm going to take the one that says health and I'm going to move it down there. Move it up, move it down.
You can only get 4 on the iPhone.
That's correct. Okay.
Question on moving something up in the iPad. I have an icon down on the bottom and I've tried to move it up, but because there's one already on the major portion, it won't go away on the lower portion.
Right. Mhm.
Well, you have to move it to a blank area on the major screen. Okay.
Then it's
So
on,
if I-
it's on
See, if I'm
twice.
here, this screen is entirely full. So if I move it up here and then drop it there, it moved the application that was there to the next screen. Now, the only thing I ask you be careful of is don't put one on top of the other.
Mhm.
And let me show you what I mean. You see the one that says iPhone store here, iTunes store, and the one that says news? See these two?
I lost
I
it.
can create a folder from those two by just putting this one on top of that one and letting go. And then it created a folder with 2 apps in it. And it named it and it called it Lifestyle. I don't know why, but that's what it did. And I tap that and it shows me those 2 apps. And if I don't want it, I can take the star and move it out. Oops. And because I only had 2 in there, it got rid of the folder entirely. I think you saw on the previous screen that I had over 300 applications. And you're saying, well, how do you get those on 3 pages? Remember you saw one? There's the 3 pages of my apps. But look at all the folders that I had. I took my time and I went through and found all the apps I had that you work with books on. And I put them in a folder and there's all my books applications. Now, if you don't have this problem, you don't need to, but I couldn't deal with 8 or 9 or 10 screens of applications. So I started combining them.
Bill, I tried to take one, I tried a folder and I tried to take one out and it lost altogether. It went away.
It didn't go away. Where did you move it to?
To the screen below, which was my home screen.
You tried to, this is the home screen. There are multiple home screens, and this is called the dock.
I moved it. It was a folder that had 2 apps in it. And I decided they didn't need to be together. So I took my finger and put it on one of the apps and moved it out of the folder and released, and it disappeared. It did not go to my home screen.
So I'm going to do what you did. Put 2 of these together, right?
Right.
So now I have these 2, and I open it up. I need to get them to shake. And then I pull this one over to here. And the folder disappears. And the 2 apps are standalone now. Let me put 3 apps in there. 1, 2, 3. So now I've got 3 apps in here. And if I pull this one out and let go of it here, I still have lifestyle, but the one I pulled out is on the screen.
I truly see what you're doing, and I did the same thing. It just, for some reason, didn't work. And I lost one of the apps.
Go to the next screen. It should be there. Should be on this screen, this screen, if you did that.
Right, it should be, but that screen's full, so it's
Well,
not.
then the next one, but it may be on the dock as well.
You know, I don't see it at all.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure they were shaking when I did it.
Oh, you can't move them out of the thing unless they are shaking.
Well, you really? I'm about to take I've got one that's not shaking. And it's not shaking, and now take news out.
You can't take news out of
Yes, you
this
can.
folder unless it's, oh yeah, but it starts shaking.
Mine didn't.
I grab it and start moving it, it starts shaking.
No, but what's interesting is the one that I lost came back on. It's not shaking, but the one that I lost came back on, and it was just on the other side of the folder. With my finger on the one that I was alone, now that I lost the other, I pushed it off and the other one came back into the folder, but nothing's shaking.
It's best to get them to shake first so you don't get, okay. You didn't lose it, it's somewhere on your device.
Mhm.
Okay. So Patty's standing by the edge of the cliff, having just lost his best friend. A moment later, Seamus arrives at the cliff. He too had been to the pet store and was walking around with a paper bag. He pulls a parrot out of the bag and puts it on his shoulder. Siemens is also carrying a gun. So he's got a parrot on his shoulder and a gun. He says, "Hi, Patty, watch this," Siemens says, and launches himself off the edge of the cliff. Patty watches As halfway down, Siemens turns around and starts shooting his shotgun. Blows the parrot's head off. Siemens continues to plummet until there is a splat. As he joins his buddy Jerry, Jerry's remains at the bottom. Patty shakes his head and says, bungee jumping, not parachuting. I'm not going to try either of those. Parachuting.
Got it.
Yeah.
Leah, come on, Leah.
She had to leave early.
Oh, she missed it. Any questions about moving the apps around? Except try not to lose them.
What's on for next week, Bill?
Pardon me?
What's on for next week?
We continue from here. I'm going to do a little bit more here. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll continue to next, and then we'll continue from there. We'll talk, we'll continue from there. We'll talk about the keyboard and how to use the keyboard, all the little tricks and tips on the keyboard,
Okay,
and then move into settings.
sounds good.
Okay.
Then
Let me check something. I have time. I have time. There's your main interface with your device is called the keyboard. I'm going to start on that. And what I'd like to do is I want to use a particular application with the keyboard. The application that I think all of us have on our devices is called Notes. Here's Notes right here on the iPhone, on the iPad. Here's Notes on the iPhone. I'm going to open it at both places. And one of the icons I would like you to memorize what it's called. It's called the paper and pen. And it looks like this. It's on both devices in this application. Whenever you see anything that looks like this, it's the way in which you start a new one or a new message, a new email, if that one happens to be the icon. But it starts a new one. So if you click on that or tap on that, it comes up with a new icon. Now, we're not trying to learn the Notes app right now, but I do want you to, on the iPad here, click the little icon in the upper left-hand corner there. Oops. Never mind. Don't click it. I thought it would make it all disappear. Tap the screen. If you tapped it, just tap the blank area to the right, this area. Just tap right in here. And then tap one more time to get the keyboard to come up. Okay, so now I have the keyboard up on both my iPhone and my iPad. We're going to talk about some characteristics of the keyboard here. Number one is this little arrow down here. It's called the caps and caps lock. If the arrow is filled in black, that means caps lock is on. If you tap it once, it turns caps off, or caps, right? It shows you lowercase letters on the keyboard. So I'm going to turn it on and turn it on. And I'm going to type, and you're going to type whoops.
Bill, I couldn't find the one that says the square with the pencil in it, so I don't know where you are.
Are you on notes? The
Um,
application?
Yes,
Is it only on the iPad that you have
No,
this?
it's on both. It's on
It's on
both.
both?
I just found it on the bottom.
Okay. Right now, caps lock is on. And if I type a letter, or if I start typing, and what I want you to type, everyone, is the quick brown fox, duh. You'll notice if I type the T, it automatically shifts to lowercase for the second letter.
Just a minor semantics, Bill, but you've got the caps and the lowercase, but then you have to double hit it to get the caps lock. So when you normally in caps, you're not using the lock.
I was going to get there. But thank you.
Why is, oh, there it is. Okay, I was gonna say, why is my sentence in bold and big letters?
When you get to the end of the sentence, if you double tap the space bar, it puts in a period for you automatically. Tap, tap, and there's a period. Tap, tap, there's a period. And you'll notice that caps lock is now turned on, but it's not locked. And Bill's correct on that. Caps is turned on, but it's not locked. Because I just finished a sentence, it says, oh, you want a capital letter for the first letter of the next sentence,
Next word.
right? So if I tap this, and you see how it typed, this is great. Tap, tap. If I perhaps wanted to type in, I'm going to start, we wanted to go to a new line, for example, we tap return.
Mhm.
And if I, for example, wanted to type in IBM in all caps letters, the first letter would be capitalized, but the next one would not unless you double tap the cap lock button. When you double tap it, it ends up with that filled in arrow and it has an underline under it. So now it will say it is truly a caps lock, like on your old, that thing called a typewriter. And I can type I and it will be capital letters for everything I type.
You double type the caps and it's not working for me. What am I doing wrong?
You have to tap it quickly. Tap, tap,
You have to keep doing it until it works.
tap, tap, real quick.
It worked. It
Not
worked.
tap,
It-
tap, but tap, tap.
Bill, I have a question about the first line of notes being now in very large and bold print. You've got an an illustration there
I'm
where
going
your IBM is small in body.
I'm going to address that.
Okay, I want to change it on mine because I hate that big, bold, large
The reason it's big, bold
title.
is because that's the title of the note. The first line you type will be the title of the note.
If you don't want that, is there a setting?
There's not a setting. Well, there might be, but I
Mine
didn't want to get
didn't
into
do it.
that.
Mine didn't do
I
it.
didn't, I didn't want to get into that, but
Okay.
let's see.
It's the biggest annoyance that I find in notes now. You can set it in body for each individual note.
Don't do what I just said, what I'm doing here. Don't do what I'm doing.
Oh, what's your name?
So you can change it back, but is there a way to
Right.
make it always that?
But you have to do that for each note.
I understand. I
Okay,
understand. I'm taking a segue, everyone. Okay,
new
going to
notes start
settings,
with,
going to settings,
got it. That's wonderful, thank you.
new note, start with, and change it to body. Okay,
Fantastic.
Where is the notes part on the settings and then where's next?
That's the advanced class. You go,
Oh.
you go to settings, notes, and you would change it so it doesn't do that for the first line.
Bill,
All
can I
right.
ask you something to, I cannot make a new note and I tried and tried, but what do I have to make a new note? I can only add to the ones I already have.
At the bottom, are you in the iPhone or iPad?
Both.
You're looking for an icon that looks like this, Maribel? See what I'm
Yes,
circling? If you see
yes.
that and click on it or tap on it, it starts a new note.
Now I cannot find it anymore. I have shared notes, locked notes, notes with checklists, notes with tags, notes with drawings, notes with scanned documents, notes with attachments. But that's it.
Are you in the Notes app right now?
Yes.
And you tap this little thing?
Uh,
It should start
You
a new
know-
note.
Yeah, but I can't find it anymore. I had it before, but go on cancel and notes, and then I get folders again. Oh,
You get
now
what
I find
again?
it. I found it again.
Okay,
But now I can start a new note then.
correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, we're on the keyboard. Couple of very interesting things on the iPad. If I want to put in a number, on the let me go to the iPhone, I'm sorry. Go to the iPhone. If I want to put in a number, I
Where are
hit
you
the
on the
arrow, I hit the 1, 2, 3 in the lower left. And the numeric keyboard comes up and I can type the number. So I'm on the iPhone now. If I want an emoji, I have to hit the happy face there. And I type, I want a horse head, a fly, and there are all kinds of things I can pick from. Nice cup of coffee. Get the idea there? And if I want to go back, I tap the ABC and it takes me back to the ABC keyboard. If I have the iPad, you can work it a couple of different ways there. Let me switch over to the iPad now. You see where I have the numeric keyboard. I'm sorry, I have the alpha keyboard and I have lowercase because the arrow's not filled in. And what I can do is I can get the number 4 to appear by putting my finger on the letter E, for example. I wanted the number 3 and pull down without lifting my finger and then release, I get a 3. If I want a 6. Okay. If I wanted a different language vowel, for example, let's say E, if I press and hold the E, not press and pull down, but press and hold, and then drag my finger up, I can get the E with various what would you call that, enunciations? Okay.
Accent aigu.
The A, it works the same way. If I come down here, the percent sign, what happens? I press and hold the percent sign, I get the Z's of different things. The dollar sign there, you see the dollar sign? I could get the dollar sign if I pull down, but if I press and hold it, nothing happens. Okay.
How do you know what produces pressing and holding? Do you just have to look at it? Is that,
Yeah, you have to, I guess if I go to the A and I press and hold down, there's the different things that an A could be. And then I slide my finger up and pick one of those.
and if you pull down, do you get something different on the A?
If I pull down on the A, I'll get the @ sign. You see the little @ sign?
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, wow.
Okay. Press and hold the dollar sign on the numeric keyboard, and you'll get all different kinds of currency currency characters. And the coup de grace, I'm going to start a new line. How do I do a new line? I hit the return key. Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if on my iPad and my iPhone, the iPhone's a little large there on the screen. In the lower right-hand corner of the iPhone, there's a microphone, and here it is on the iPad. And if I strike that, I can actually speak, and I can create a whole letter by just talking to it. And I'm going to start a new note. And then I'm going to come down here and hit the microphone. Hi, Dave. New line.
Hi, Dave.
How are things in San Francisco this morning? New line? I'll be calling you Sunday evening so we can Skype. Period. New line?
So what do you do with the note? Do you send it to Dave or?
Now, see where the,
Oh, okay.
here's the last lesson for the day. It's called the share box. See the little square? Looks like a square with an arrow coming out the top. It's called the share box. I could just click on that. By the way, that note's saved over here. But now I could mail it to my son by going there, typing in and then I could send it to him. Oftentimes I do that. And I create the whole letter here in notes because there's a lot more flexibility. And then I send it. Okay? A few minutes later, another farmer shows up. He's been to the pet store too, and he walks up carrying a cage. However, instead of a parrot or a bungee, he pulls out a chicken, in fact, 2 chickens. And he puts a chicken on each shoulder and he jumps off the cliff. Patty shakes his head when the guy hits the bottom. Ah. He's bungee jumping, then Sean's parrot shooting, and now we've got hang gliding. Okay. Any questions about today's class?
Hey, Bill,
Yes, sir.
the Wi-Fi comes out of the router, doesn't it?
Yes. If you have, yeah, it depends on the routers, but yes, usually there's an antenna on it that comes out.
Okay, so if you wanted to increase the area where the Wi-Fi is available, could you put additional router on the line in another room, say?
You could run a line from that router to another router, yes. You can also get boosters. There's a bunch of techniques. My son has what they call a net. I think it's called a net, a wireless net, where he has different boxes around the house because there's a lot of walls in the house. So he gets good reception everywhere. There's several techniques you can use to do that. You don't need to actually run a cable from one router to the other.
So if you put net in Amazon, are you going to come up with something that will work, or how do you know it will work in the next room? In other words, if I want the same thing as your son, how do I go about buying whatever it is?
You go to Google Net. I think it's
Mhm.
called Net.
Is it mesh?
Mesh. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. So it's a mesh network. And it comes with 2 or 3 boxes you plug in at various places in your home, and it propagates the signal.
And can you add it to any router?
You put a box at the router, and then you put these other boxes around the house.
Okay, all right.
I think that's the way it works. I'm not absolutely sure. You may not need the extra box, but yeah, you can do it to any router.
Okay. Bill, do you have anything to add to that?
Just,
The other
there's a
bill.
lot of technical things, so I think Bill's explanation is a good basic one.
Good.
There's also, you can just, if you've got a router from a company, you can check with them and see if they have, add-ons where you can just put a box in another room and it will work with what you got today, whoever your Wi-Fi provider is.
Ah, good. Thank you so much, both of you. Yes.
And
Whole
that's
new
one you
thing.
actually, that's one you plug in a particular outlet at various
Yes.
places.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. It came up when you mentioned your son and hearing everywhere. So thank you.
All right. Next week, we do part two. Okay, we pick up from here. Hi, Diane. Okay, folks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, William, of course.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm gonna call it the Bill and Bill Show, All right, everybody. Have a great week. Take care.
Same to you.